Is going to be Nagios on-call rotation and rotation schedules with James Clark.
Thanks. As you said, my name is Jim Clark. I work for American Eagle Outfitters. You can't tell by the shirt and the jeans I'm wearing already. And one of the biggest things we have problem was on-call rotation. And this is an example of how I implemented it so that it gets handled automatically every day, so I don't have to touch it and change who's getting paged and alerted out of our Nagios. This was done against Nagios XI. It could be changed, though, with just a few lines of code to work with a core installation. Topics discussed, just a quick about me, monitoring history at the current company, prerequisites for doing the on-call rotation, the current company setup, and then I'm going to show you the scripts and some example data output from the scripts. I've been in the IT industry for since '88. In 2004, I became a server group manager, and that's when I first got introduced to Nagios. And I switched over to XI somewhere around 2010, shortly after it came out. I believe it came out in 2009. And loved every part of it. I changed jobs in August of 2012, and I quickly convinced that company to switch over to XI. I do have a private web page where I have some of the stuff I've done with Nagios in it. Don't worry about writing that down. Get that from when it gets put online. On that page, you'll find a lot of Nagios modifications that I've done, including the on-call rotation, some modifications I've done to already existing scripts. And I, of course, link the original author, but acknowledging by email, I had to make some changes in that one, a bunch of AIX stuff, just a bunch of miscellaneous scripts. History of monitoring. When I got hired, that is my only job. I mess around with Nagios XI all day. They had a lot of different apps there. CCSS for iSeries, FogLight for the databases, SCOM 2007 for Windows, and they're actually rolling out 2012 right now there. 3 separate core servers, all with their own managers. IBM Netcol, and a lot of departments had nothing monitoring anything. And all the applications rolled up into Netcol, which then rolled up into Alarm Point for alerting. Alarm Point holds the on-call schedule for all the different groups, and we have quite a few in the IT department. I've partially converted some of the stuff for CCSS over into XI. FogLight, I'm hoping to get it over there. The database admins are receptive. They just haven't gotten with me yet to do it. SCOM for Windows. We were trying to use SCOM to Nagios, some script we found online, but now we're trying to roll out with WMI to monitor all of our 4,000 Windows boxes. So I'm hoping to get those all thrown in pretty soon. The 3 separate core servers have all been moved into XI now, and that includes the networking group, the direct business, which is our internet sales, and I can't remember what the third one is right now. But those two, the direct sales and the internet, or the network, those are the 2 groups that are utilizing the on-call rotation handling right now. We're removing Netcol from the company. We're hopefully removing Alarm Point. And right now we have 1 primary XI server, and we use Gearman to distribute the monitoring to behind the firewalls and other things. And we have another XI server at a external data center to monitor the primary XI server, and we have another one in our disaster recovery website, DR. Besides Alarm Point, the on-call schedule is also stored in a Microsoft SharePoint site, and that is the manager of operations, the NOC, updates that, and that's what the NOC goes off of, who to call from what group. We had no full-time administrator for Netcol or Alarm Point. I was basically brought in as that administrator, and that's why it's leaving. when done switching everything over to XI, we're going to see a significant savings, like 11-fold. It's very expensive for net coal. One of the main hurdles to the switch, though, as I was mentioning, was on-call rotation. At my old job, we at the end of the time there, we only had 10 people in the department who cared about on-call rotation. Just go, if you don't want to get the alerts, put a filter or whatever on your email. But in this, there's just so many different groups, and the on-call information changes so fluidly. We would not have been able to use XI or Nagios without having the on-call rotation in there. The prerequisites for the on-call, you got to have your on-call information stored somewhere. For us, as I said, it's in that Microsoft SharePoint site. It has to be able to be exported into a format that you can use with the script that I wrote, a job scheduler to run the jobs, and our setup, as I mentioned, is in the SharePoint. One of the SharePoint administrators created a program that will export the data and give me it in the format that I asked him to give it to me. And then his program FTPs it up to a shared FTP site. 2 files are sent, one for primary, one for secondary on-call person. And we use a program called Control-M to schedule the jobs, but you could use cron to schedule the Linux jobs, and Task Manager to schedule the Windows jobs or whatever. The jobs run daily at 8 a.m. That's as I says, our on-call changes every Monday at 8 a.m. But if a change needs to be made, like my daughter gets sick and I need to leave being on call and I need to make an immediate change, the NOC manager makes a change on that SharePoint site and just runs the Control-M job then, and it takes effect immediately. That's what our site looks like. As you can see, there's just all the different groups are there. It has primary and secondary on call, and in the script you'll see that it can handle if there's a blank in one of the datas. This site already existed before we decided to do the on-call rotation, so we added to the contacts table, I had them add a field, and I went ahead and filled it all in, and it's the short name to the on-call groups table, and that's what I use in Nagios XI to describe the group. And as I said, it can handle the blank. This is an example of the files that he exports to me, and then I use the script to manipulate the data. The first field is what's displayed in SharePoint. And it is the alias assigned to it in Nagios. The second field is the contact group name that I'll end up creating with the scripts in Nagios. And the third field is, of course, the user ID. Yeah, don't yell at me about this. Putting a password and stuff like that in an FTP script. I know it's bad, but so short, sweet, and simple. I'll just go out and grab the primary and secondary on-call file, delete them from the site, and that's that for that. But the data manipulation script is a Perl script. The first thing it does, it goes out in XI. There's a underneath the user local Nagios etc. There's a static folder, and that's where static configuration files can be stored if you're using XI, or you're just in that folder if you're using Core. But I go out and delete the old files that were there, except for a couple certain ones that don't get deleted. Then I process the primary on-call data. I open the primary on-call text file, and then I split it on a comma. As you saw, it was a CSV file. And it's right there, it checks to make sure none of it's blank, and if it's not blank, it goes ahead and processes the file. It opens the output file, and right there, as you can see, the alias, which was that the second column, that's the contact group that I'm creating. And it creates it, underscore on-call underscore primary.cfg. And then it writes to what you would see in a standard contact group definition file. The contact group name, again, same thing. The alias, which would be which would have been the first one, network, and the member is that one member you saw in the CSV file. Closes that file, then it does the exact same thing for secondary. Just instead instead of the primary file opens a secondary one, and instead of underscore pry, underscore sec. But everything else is the exact same there. Then it needs to change the ownership and the permissions on all the files that it just wrote. I delete the files that I used to make the data, and then I restart Nagios, and that script that it's running right there is the same script that if in XI when you hit apply configuration from in the core configuration manager, or if you would just go ahead and restart Nagios and verify core. That's the one of the lines that would need changed if you're using core instead. And then it exits it. And this is an example of a directory listing from all the files it would have made from that data file that CSV file that you saw. And because there was that blank in the data warehouse secondary on call, it did only write the primary on call for the data warehouse group. And that's just showing you what the example of one of the insides of the thing looks like. And then for the secondary. For the Nagios configuration, I don't put any contact groups or contacts on the hosts or the services because those contact groups do not exist in XI. So if I tried to put them in there, if I created them and I didn't put anybody in them in XI's configuration, Nagios would choke on it when I hit apply configuration. So that's why I have to write these into the static configuration files. Users receive permissions to see the hosts and the services from having the escalations defined for them, and that's otherwise they wouldn't be able to see it. Escalations must be created for both the hosts and the services. Normally, if you'd put a contact or contact group on a host, the services inherit that, and if they go down, the people for the host get alerted for that as well. That does not happen with escalations, so you have to create the escalations for both hosts and services. The escalations are created as a static configuration file. As I was saying earlier, Nagios would error on the empty contact groups if you didn't create them like that. I put all members of a department in a group, and I just put a underscore all on it, and that one is created inside XI. So all of my network department is members of a network underscore all contact group. The manager, I created one underscore boss and put him in that one as well. This is an example of the host escalation setup file that I did. All the network hosts, all the Cisco switches, Cisco routers, firewalls, whatever, they all belong to a host group name of network on call, and the contact group it gets assigned that is the network on call underscore pry, which is created by that script file. First notification 1, last notification 0. That means he'll continue to get the notifications until it's acknowledged. Did you want to ask something? No? All right. And then notification interval 15 minutes. Make out whatever you want it. That underscore pry contact group is created by the script. Then I have the underscore sec, again created by the script. And then the network boss, that is created in XI, and that's the manager. It's the only one in there. And I have that first notification of 4. He gets alerted if nobody else does it after a total of 60 minutes. And then for notification of 3, the entire group, which is created in XI, gets an alert. And the reason those are the 3 and 4 are out of order, I did have that last one, the network underscore all, it was set to first notification of 500. They were never supposed to get, when we first did this, they were never going to get an alert if they weren't on call. But that was how I had to give them permission to see the hosts. But since then, the boss wanted them to get an alert before him, so that's why it's been changed from 500 down to 3. And then this is services for the same for the same group. And the nice thing is with escalations, you can use wildcards. So I have the same host group name for service, but then the service description of asterisk. So for any host, that's in that, all the services are there, and everything else is the exact same. This can, as I says, this can get really complicated, and I have an example file for our direct team, the website team, and how it's pages long of all the service configurations because of all the different groups, all the different service groups, and stuff like that. It's crazy. This is what is this? Oh yeah, it's yeah. This is I forgot I added this page in. This is the database administrators. I just did this one recently actually. Not every host has a service group or a service that belongs to the service group of DBA on call. But what this does, it covers for any host that has a service that's a part of that. It goes ahead and has them, whoever's on call in that DBA on call group, get the alert. I forgot I did that one. This, as I mentioned, I'm going to open this file. That is a file that's inside the presentation. So when you grab a copy off the website and they're available, you would be able to see this for an example. That's really the end of how I did it, but I'm going to bring that up. I mean, as you can see by the size of the scroll bar, it goes on for a while, and this is all just for the website. There's only probably about 20 or 30 hosts for the website team, but they just have a bunch of different service groups, and they have like five different contact groups, and so these are all in here with different notification intervals, different contact groups, whatever. And this is all handled automatically, so that they nobody has to go in and change this, whenever the on-call changes. It's really that short, sweet, and simple. Just all handled with escalations, and that's it for my presentation. It's a short one. I tried to make it longer, but does anybody have any questions? Let him get the mic to you.
This one right over here.
Do you have any more information about, I guess, the SharePoint to static file conversion?
What kind of information?
Basically how he did it.
Um,
So if we basically,
Mirrored it.
we're going to start using SharePoint, but we're using Exchange, so the idea would be to take it out of Exchange and put it into some sort of file.
Yeah, well, he actually wrote some app that's on the SharePoint server itself, and it just exports those three fields for me. That's on that one slide. The long name, short name, and then the contact name.
Okay.
So he just wrote that, and it automatically FTPs up to that site like I was showing, and yeah. I mean, I can get you a copy of that, but it's only going to work for that SharePoint site.
Okay, thanks.
And that script could easily be modified to, however, it's just splitting it up on CSV values.
Is there any particular reason you would choose, you're doing a static export and then just restarting Nagios?
Yes.
Is there any reason why you couldn't or wouldn't script the actual notification to just pick the current primary and then you wouldn't have to restart Nagios? Is it because of the SharePoint export, or were there other reasons?
SharePoint export. Yeah, if I could script that to do that, yeah, I could do that.
Because all our on-calls in Google Calendar, so
Kind of hard to get the information out of there exported.
it's easy on Google Calendar.
Is
It's
it?
hard on SharePoint.
It took weeks to get the guy to write that one little application. Yes, so I understand that comment. Yeah, if I could script it like that, I would.
Any other questions? Well, I just had one comment. Being, I worked with James and also worked with XI, and I think that this is an excellent example of the ability to take what many people do with core and script the output of various items, and shows how you actually can integrate these items into XI, even if you are creating the scripts yourself or writing configuration files. Some of the items that you have are in XI natively, and this does give a good example that you can actually script some of the items that maybe you need to pull from different data sources and integrate them in with XI as well.
Yeah, just thinking outside of the box of how to get things done. 'Cause when there's so many people jumping down your throat to get some sort of feature, just like one of the things I mentioned on my site where I found a acknowledged by email and had a few bugs in it and fixed it. And I contacted the author, so he will be releasing a newer version that incorporates my fixes. But yeah, those type of things. I got to think out of the side of the box and do a lot of Google searching.
Excellent. Maybe ask that one more time.
Oh, do you have more information about that acknowledge by email a bit?
Let me see if I've got internet. I do have internet. Give me a second.
Because I tried to get that working, and so far
It went real easy install.
Okay.
Oh, thanks. Be nice if I. Oh, if anybody's ever on the Nagios forums, I'm always browsing and I almost typed in start in Nagios, but I'm always browsing on their forums, and my handle on there is Bandit BBS. I'm always in the customer side of it though. Don't mind my personal website. Whoops. I'm not sure how good that's shown there or not. That link right there is to the Nagios Exchange where I found the one that I used. He had a real big bug in it actually, where it didn't take into account the fact that your services could have spaces in them. So it wouldn't find a match on any of the services that I had with the space in it, which is almost all of them. But when he had it set the thing to acknowledge, it was just saying acknowledged by whatever the email address is that you're checking with the script. I now have it checked saying acknowledged by the email address that sent the acknowledgement in. And when the person where's my pointer? When the person replies to the email, they just have to put in a ID and then ACK in front of the subject and hit send. That's it. And for my guys, so they don't yell and complain, the ID is just the number 1. But it does that, and then it goes through and searches for a match, and then sets it to acknowledge. And it works real easily. And I can give you my business card. It has a link to this, so you can get that and see the updated code. And that's written in Ruby. I installed Ruby in about 5 seconds and ran that. And he is the original author is rewriting it, cleaning up his code, and said he will incorporate the changes I made and re-release it. But he's just doing it when he has free time, so I'm not sure when that's going to be. But he has been emailing me, so.
Excellent. Well, everybody give a big round of applause. Thank you.